Hi everyone, I am Nini and this is my second tutorial. In this video I'm going to show you how I shade and color my Webtoon panels. For reference, here are some of the panels from my upcoming Webtoon. But in this specific video we're going to discuss shading and coloring only. And if you also want to know how I add the lighting to my drawings, don't forget to subscribe because one of my future tutorials is going to be about lighting. And for now, let's start our coloring and shading tutorial with the first topic, which is selecting the right colors. If you want your shading to look better, there should be some kind of contrast between the shading color, the base color, and the highlights color. Which means that the base color should be somewhere in the middle, and the color of the shadow should be significantly darker compared to the base color, when the highlights should be much lighter. And such thing creates a contrast between the base color, shading color, and the highlights color. So instead of choosing the color which is really close to the base color, you have to choose something different. For example, whenever I shade the skin, I choose something like pink for the shadows, and the result looks much better. So since you already know how I choose my colors, now it's time to break down every single part of the drawing, like the hair, skin, and the clothing, and how I shade each one of them. Starting with hair, I have a really simple way of shading hair because we have to work really fast on Webtoon and we have to provide many panels in a short time. But even if it's simple, it still looks good. I start with using this tool which helps me to fill in the colors really fast. The first thing I do is that I set my line art layer as a reference layer by clicking this button right here. And with this tool, I select around the hair area which I want to color in, and it's done. Next thing I do is that I set the significantly darker color for the shadows, and as I'm following the hair flow, I am coloring in every single part of the hair where I think the shadows would appear. After that, I use a soft eraser to erase some parts of the shadows and create a smooth transition. As for the highlights, I choose a saturated light color to draw some lines where I think the light would hit, and that's basically it. As for the skin, this is the type of colors that I choose for this character. The base color is a light version of yellow, when the shading color is some kind of pink. But you can use any color that you like. There's just one recommendation from me, which is that for the base color, it is better to use something more desaturated. And for the shadows, it is better to use something more vibrant and more saturated as well, with pinkish tone, because it stands out more and makes your coloring more eye-catching. And now let's describe the shading process. The first thing that I do is that I use the same tool which I showed you earlier to fill in the base colors. After that, I use mapping pen to draw the shadows around the places where the shadows would appear, for example, under the jawline, under the hair, around the eyelids, and so on. Then I am using Alpha Lock to lock this layer, and I choose the airbrush to airbrush the places around the shadows with some kind of purple tint because it ends up looking really good, like this. Next, I am removing the Alpha Lock and I am adding more shadows using lasso tool and creating some shapes and then airbrushing them. Also, don't forget to shade the lips and color the eyes with your desired colors. And you're done! And now it's time to describe how I shade the clothing. At first, I am adding the design with the default Clip Studio pen, which is called Mill Pen, and it has round edges, and I am setting the stabilization around 100 because I want my design to be more clean and also less shaky. Then I am making a new layer and setting it on multiply in order to shade it with this kind of purple color, using the lasso tool and making some shapes and then airbrushing them. I recommend you to use purple color for warmer tone clothing, and for cooler toned clothing it is better to use something like blue for the shading, and obviously both of the shading requires the usage of multiply layer. And you can adjust the opacity of this layer according to your liking. Same goes when shading other type of pieces of clothing and even shoes as well. And after I'm done with shading, I am adding a new layer on top of the liner layer and making a clipping mask in order to color the lines according to the shading colors. For example, I am coloring the lines around the skin with this dark red color, and the lines around a white shirt is colored with this blue color. And that was the final step of shading and coloring from me, and you're basically done. After adding some backgrounds and effects and lighting as well, this is what the panel ends up looking like. As I mentioned before, I am posting a lighting tutorial in the future, so don't forget to subscribe and you won't miss that video out. Also, I am posting a speed paint of this panel, a coloring process, so you can watch and learn carefully. That was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye!